let's talk a little bit about the residential market, which you guys know more about than I do. You know, between 2002 and 2006, there was a high-tech slump. Obviously, the dot-com bust in residential, strangely enough, kind of counterintuitive, was very, very strong in many areas of Santa Clara County. Multiple offer sales above the asking price, and you know all that stuff. And kind of related to schools. You know, I was giving a speech recently to 150, what they call the SIRS Club. They're maybe you know about them, but they're all elderly men. It's a men's club. Retired, you must be retired, and it's really cool because they all show up for lunch in ties and a coat, and they're my kind of guys. And so I said, you know, anybody that owns residential property in Santa Clara County and votes against a school bond measure or a parcel tax is an idiot. Not acting in their own self-interest, because seniors, as you may know, are the ones that are the most difficult. You know, they got their education in public schools, but now they don't want to support generally the public education. And I said, I can show you places in this county where the boundary of a school district runs down the middle of the street. And on both sides of the street, there are homes built by the same developer at the same time, oftentimes the same models. And I can show you, depending on the quality of a school district, as much as 100 to 125,000, maybe even more. And I'm probably not telling you, but I see some head shaking. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Between one side of the street and the other, because one is considered an excellent school district and another is considered a mediocre school district. So anybody who owns residential property in Santa Clara County and votes against a school bond or a parcel tax is not acting in their own financial self-interest. That's my preaching for the day, I guess. So today, we got the subprime problem. It is not as serious in Santa Clara County as it is in other parts of the state: Stockton, Sacramento, the Central Valley, Riverside, San Bernardino. They're bloodbaths. I mean, I talked to the assessor in Contra Costa County the other day. He says 175,000 Prop 8s.
Wow.
Whoa. Okay. Wow. As I said, we're going to be about 26,000. I make the personal decision to bring these things down. We don't, my predecessor did it across the board in the county. So when the market was dropping between 90 and 95, they looked at transactions and they brought them down across the county. Well, that, you know, properties in Gilroy are substantially different than properties in Palo Alto. So how do you do this? When I came into office, I looked at it, and there's some people understand the value of a school district and its impact upon their residential property, I think, more than anything else. And so I've learned that there was 11 high school districts in Santa Clara County, so we analyze actual transactions that occur by computer individually within 11 high school districts. And it's arbitrary, but it's still a little bit more accurate, quite a bit more accurate than just doing it across the board. So as I said, we're going to proactively reduce the value on 26,000 properties, approximately. It might go as high as 30,000 this year to reflect the lower market value. The biggest problem, and I think it was obvious with a previous speaker, with the subprime problem, is it's affecting, and you all know why it's there, but it's affecting capital markets and credit availability all over the place. Obviously, underwriting standards has increased. It's much more difficult to get a loan today. Our transactions, deeds, are down 30% this year, and it might be even, by the time we end up the year on July 1st, it might even be higher. New construction is down 20% in this county. So even though values, particularly in good school districts, tend to stay up, you guys are seeing even sometimes sales above the asking price, multiple offers and that kind of thing, depending upon the quality of a school district, the transactions are certainly down significantly. High-end residential seems to be very strong. The low end of the market, particularly condos and townhouses, are a substantial part of the Prop 8 problem issue that we have here. And those are affecting Morgan Hill, Gilroy, Milpitas, East San Jose is where the biggest problem of foreclosures and subprime problems exist. High-end areas still seem to be very strong. Commercial and industrial market, it's been very hot, and it's kind of counter-cyclical. When residential is good, that seems to be bad. Class A office space up until the last couple of months is absolutely on fire. Rents are up about 32%. In the single year, vacancies are down about 25%. R&D, the same thing, rents up about 16%, vacancies down to 29%. Investments here are strong. This still is a place. Last year, almost $7 billion was invested in Silicon Valley properties. A record year again over the year past, which was another record year. Spec office, we're seeing spec office buildings built for the first time in a long time. The J. Paul project that you see out in the Moffett Park, huge. The first spec office buildings that we've seen since probably 2001. As I said, everything happens in Silicon Valley first, fastest, good, bad, up and down. Let's talk a little bit about assessment appeals. I get asked that question a lot. We have the fewer assessment appeals in San Bernardino and Clara County than any major county in the state. Let me give you an example. The highest year for assessment appeals in the state of California was 1996, not 70. It was the bottom of that sustained downturn between 1990 and 1995. That year, 1996, San Diego had 28,000 appeals. Orange County had 48,000 appeals. LA, they weren't quite sure, but somewhere between 70 and 90,000. Riverside or San Bernardino, I think, had 22,000. Santa Clara County had 7,300. Now, the question is, why are we lower on assessment appeals than others? A couple of reasons. I think I got a great staff that does a good job to get the right value on the roll. But one of the other reasons, and I mention this to you because the union, the county union, is trying to take this away from us, and that is we're one of only 8 counties in the state that send those assessment notification cards out to you the 3rd week of May. Yeah. You know, the love note you get from me. And that love note, if you turn it over and read it, it says if you think you're over-assessed, we've got the assessed value. This is what your assessed value will be when we close the roll 6 weeks from now on July the 1st. Think you're over-assessed, call us, write us, fax us, email us, come into the office, and we'll do a review. If we agree, we'll make the adjustment before the roll closes. In 50 of the 58 counties in the state, the first time you find out what your assessed value is when you get your tax bill in October. Okay, now you can still appeal. You got 60 days to appeal. But you file an appeal in October, and you have to pay the wrong tax if, in fact, you're over-assessed. The wrong tax in December, the incorrect tax in April. If the assessor makes an adjustment or you win your appeal, then the county has to refund the money plus interest, and sometimes take back the revenue that we disperse to the cities or school district or whatever it is. I look at that and say, that's nuts. Let's get it right the first time. So that's why we send assessment notification cards out, and it's very important. We try to tell you what's happening before the roll closes, and that's why we have 7,300 appeals when Orange County has 48,000 at the height of the market. How successful are appellants? I'm often asked. You know, if I appeal, can I get some kind of a reduction? 60% of all assessment appeals are withdrawn by the taxpayer usually because they don't understand the system. You know, they have a $200,000 assessed value, the property goes up to $800,000, and they read in the paper that there's been a 20% drop or something, comes down to $600,000, and they think they're due an adjustment. So that's usually taken care of pretty quickly. But 38% of all appeals receive some kind of reduction, usually in about the 10 to the 20% range. And only 2% in our county of all assessment appeals actually end up in a hearing before an independent assessment appeals board. Okay? So usually we try to take care of that and get the right value on the roll even when people file an appeal. And there's less appeals because we take care of, we will proactively this year, without being asked by the taxpayer, reduce, as I said, the assessed value on about 26,000 properties. About 97% of those will be residential properties. property. So people will get a card in the mail and show a reduction that they didn't even know